This is the Todd Shapiro Show on Canada Talks, SiriusXM 167.
This guy's decorated in just being a big brain and an interesting guy in terms of what he understands about blockchain and data protection and really where the world's going, everything in the technological world, who we speak to many different times, is Frank Dumas. Hi, Frank.
Hello, Todd.
So, Frank, how did you end up? Do we know what happened to John McAfee? Do we have a number that might work for him?
I just gave one to Bilal, but it's always a little bit complicated to reach John. You know that he's quote unquote in an undisclosed location, and usually calling from a box. So last time I was able to track him was last night around a little bit before 5 Eastern, and we got no sign of life since then. So hopefully everything is okay. But I know that just recently, he launched his own cryptocurrency decentralized exchange or distribute exchange, and they just got a massive DDoS attack, and he probably has a lot on his mind. Also, he has a lot of people after him.
Yeah, and he's John McAfee, one I know. Anyways, a big blockchain and cryptocurrency advocate. Like you said, he's doing his own coin. He used to, and I used to follow this stuff when I was looking at coins and trading coins and stuff. He would give people like tips of the week and what coins he loved and his advice on coins, and none of this stuff was really regulated, let's be honest, in terms of what he was doing. And those coins would like skyrocket. Like he had a lot of people really appreciating kind of his message, and I think some got hurt from them if they went up or down depending on how that coin was traded that day. But John McAfee has always made it very clear, hasn't he, Frank Dumas, that he doesn't care about sort of regulations or regulators. He's like, we should be able to take control of our own lives and not have to worry about what people say and how we got to do them. Is that fair to say?
I would say yes. I tend to label myself a pragmatic libertarian. But John is actually a no-compromise libertarian. Like he doesn't care. He'll do what he thinks is right. He's probably one of the biggest advocates I know of personal privacy and taking back control of your identity, your life, your data. Having the right to actually live anonymously and not having to report or to be watched or to be told by the government what to do in every single aspect of your life. So he's a very interesting character. He's a very bright guy. Like I said, this is someone that has a balls of steel. There's no compromise in his attitude. He doesn't care what people think. He will do what he thinks is right based on his set of values. And what's interesting is it's probably the anti-Facebook. If you look at if you follow the Zuckerberg discussion in front of Congress this week, this is the two antipodes or the two extreme of the crypto spectrum.
Yeah, and I was following that a little bit with Zuckerberg talking about Congress and what he plans on doing with Libra and things. And I don't know enough about it, but I think Congress is worried, in my opinion, about, can this guy actually be disruptive in actual currency based on the billions and billions of people that use Facebook, and how will they regulate, this new currency, not like, money's really regulated, Federal Reserve just keeps printing it. So it's sort of a really interesting time. What did you make of, did you know much about Libra?
Yes, I do. Well, we followed it, and we follow it still. Obviously, we have a technological list of technology we're following in real time, because we'd like to know what's happening with them, if we have to adjust, and if it could change some of our plans and other things we do. I'm not going to get into details of what we do, but in terms of Facebook itself, I think what changed recently, and the reason why we saw Zuckerberg in front of the Congress or the representative, is what's happening elsewhere. You have China that's launching, and today the chairman of China, the president of China, said that they should go all in on blockchain. That was a big announcement that a few people picked up, and I think people will start to understand what it means. But the Chinese government said today that, and they've said that in a more cryptic way, or a cryptographic way, pun intended, in the last few weeks, that they will push or impose on their company, on their international companies, to push this cryptocurrency that they're launching soon. So you're going to have a crypto national currency backed by the government that represents the biggest population in the world, and they will push their company to deploy this cryptocurrency around the world. So that caused a massive problem for other sovereign currency. That for the U.S. dollars, U.S. dollar had quasi-hegemony since the Second World War, and now suddenly you're going to have a big competition from the Chinese government, because they're going into India, they're going into Africa, where you have billions of people that are unbankable, that they cannot open a bank account, but suddenly they'll be able to use a cryptocurrency that will be backed by a sovereign government, and probably a stable cryptocurrency, the way that the Chinese are planning it. So the U.S. government is looking at that, and the U.S. government is not one voice. It's a lot of different politicians from different tribes, I would say, with different opinion and different background, and they're looking at this saying, okay, what do we have to do? And the U.S. government would most probably prefer to see the technology itself come from the private sector. But we're really looking at something that should be handled by the public sector if you want to have a sovereign currency or sovereign cryptocurrency that is aimed at supporting the U.S. dollar. And I think that Facebook's speech changed a lot in the last few days. And when Zuckerberg ended up in the Congress at I think it's a committee on the financial services, and that's the important part. He was not in front of a committee that usually talks about defense or foreign affairs or technology. He was in front of the financial service committee, the one that usually talks about the bank or the banking system.
Okay.
The one that regulates that, and that's the important aspect. So his speech was to say, look, our cryptocurrency, because Libra is really a cryptocurrency. It's not a loyalty program. It's not a utility token. There's no there's no in between. It's really a cryptocurrency like Bitcoin is, and the idea is it's supposed to be stable because it will be backed by a basket of international assets. And that's been the plan since the beginning. And now suddenly what Zuckerberg said in front of Congress is that most of that basket will be U.S. dollar assets, or even U.S. dollar period. So now suddenly he's putting back in the court of the U.S. government the idea that, well, let us do what we want to do. We want to do it regulated, and it's your only good options you have on the table right now to counter what the Chinese will do. And if you don't pick up on it right now, you run the risk of becoming the second most used currency in the world, because the Chinese cryptocurrency will take over. So that's a lot of what was the undertone of his presence in front of Congress. What's interesting is that there's 3 bills. I've been following 21 bills that are currently at different stage in front of the Congress or the Senate that are aiming at regulating blockchain or cryptocurrency. And that does not include the numerous committees that the different House have on the subject, and you have some states also that are jumping into the discussion. But out of these 21, 3 came in the last few days, and I think it was like in provision or knowing that Zuckerberg would show in front of the Congress. One of these bills that's pretty interesting to read is called, if I recall, I think it's the keeping the big tech out of the banking sector, or something like that. So that's pretty. It's keeping big tech out of the financial act, which is pretty much what I just said. It's to keep Google, Facebook, Amazon out of the sector. If you recall, I don't know if we spoke about it on your show before during the summer, but at one point there's a foundation and there's a group that was created by Facebook to study the whole subject of cryptocurrency and blockchain. And in order to look like they're open and they're not taking advantage of their monopolistic situation, they brought in a lot of well-known names from the industry, like PayPal, Visa, MasterCard, some of the other lesser known, and that in the last 3 months, create a big backlash with the politician or the U.S. politician. And PayPal has left the group, Visa has left the group, MasterCard recently, and mostly because of pressure coming from politicians that asked them, like directly, to leave the group, leave that discussion. So you have a lot of pushback, but I don't see a logical solution outside of Libra right now. I think the solution will be to regulate distribute initiative, peer-to-peer initiative. So currency that could be backed by a group of banks or backed by strictly citizens, and probably connects back to what John McAfee is doing with his distribute exchange, or decentralized exchange, is that in order to win against the Chinese, because let's make it very clear, we're entering right now, and we've been into an economical war against China. We're into, let's say, a Cold War that's warming up, and you could look at the military deployments of the two countries. China has decided to protect power, and the way that they want to do it is to go help economically where they can, grab mass amount of population in strategic area in the Middle East, in Europe, in South America, and in Africa, by investing in infrastructure, by helping them build plants and exploit their resource. And they're doing that also by forcing them, or by giving them renminbis, or giving them their own national currency. And they're going to push this crypto now, and they're going to go down to the individuals. Here's the drawback, or the danger of that. China also have their social network or their social credit application, where to control the minds of people, or to control to make sure that people don't get too much initiative or political initiative, or don't get a taste of freedom. They also have kind of a credit grading system that tells you how good you are or your family is, and will penalize you financially if you're not in the good grace of the ruling party. And that's Big Brother on steroids. Now, we need to counter that. And people were open, and I think that's what Facebook's trying to do, is to say, okay, we are the counter. We're the counterweight. We're the people that can stop the Chinese government. I personally don't think so. I think that's just another evil to choose from. And it's not that I give any future intention to Zuckerberg. I'm just looking back at the last 10 years and what they've done. They've spied on our personal text, personal message. They spy on our habits. They bundle that and they sold that. They've told us, but in hundreds of pages of user agreements that you sign without reading, and they know that. So I don't think that we can trust Facebook. Not more than we can trust the Chinese government. And that means that we're going to need to come up with another alternative. And the people like John, for example, I would have loved to talk to him this week, because the timing was perfect. If he ever shows up, call me back and we'll have the discussion. But, I know he's going to be on the show one day.
I agree. No, listen, I think we're going to, as long as he's alive, we'll get him.
Yeah, he's an interesting character. The good thing, the day you're going to have him on your show, I'm probably going to say 2 words and let him talk, because this guy doesn't need like one of your show. He probably needs a full season.
No, but Frank, and just to interrupt you, to be honest, Frank, I love listening to you speak as well, and I'm saying that quite honestly. I've always thought about you don't need the big name to get the message across, and you have concerns about data breaches, and should we put trust into a company that's admitted, and paid fines for data breaches, and had to talk to the government about how to protect data? Do we now put trust in them with our currencies and with our money, and do we want to use that system? I don't know, and part of me goes on places like Facebook and Twitter and Instagram and discloses so much of my life that I just kind of assume data will be stolen from me. But I'm a public person. So, in a way that's like I do it for a living. I get it. But most of the public, and this is what you want to protect against, you want to ensure that their data is not used against them and not used for targeting in ads and not used to emotionally connect them to something that they know they want to buy, even though they've never searched it. And it is frightening, and we do it so freely. And what's even more frightening, what I want to ask you, Frank, is adults don't even understand this stuff. How are we supposed to teach our children this stuff?
Personally, I would take away all type of communication from children until they reach, maturity. I don't know how I'm going to do it. I have a young daughter, and I'm thinking, oh my God, okay, how do I do that? And it's not, it's not. Often you're going to hear people say, well, I don't want to put picture of my kids or my children on Facebook because of pedophile, because of other things like that. Okay, it's a legitimate concern. And it's true, by the way. YouTube has been accused of, because that YouTube is running an algorithm that will tell you what you like to see on YouTube. And they've been accused of pushing to pedophile family video of kids that are in underwear or kids that are in swimming gear or stuff like that. It's already... For sure, don't do that. Don't put pictures of your kids out there, especially when you can identify address or place or stuff like that. There is a good amount of weirdo out there that, they'll use these tools. They're probably the one that know they're the best power user of cutting-edge technology because they have to hide themselves, to be able to do whatever they're doing, they shouldn't be doing. Now, how you protect your children, I think at one point it will have to be to make sure that there's a law that says that people cannot dabble in the children's data. And a lot of in the U.S., for example, right now, under 13 years old, there's a lot of service that are not available to children because it's too complicated to manage for the big tech. Technically, kids shouldn't be on Facebook, for example, before the age of 13. Now, even from 13 to 18, every data that's there should be deletable. I'm a big fan of being able to scrub a 100% of everything you've done while you were a teenager. Because I don't think it's fair that if you had an opinion at 15 or 16 years old on Facebook between your friends, that suddenly at the age of 21, you get refused into a job. Like you can imagine, like you do a degree in medicine, and you want to do an internship, and suddenly they picked up something you said about a vaccine when you were 12, 13, 14 years old, and you don't get the internship because of that. That's the type of thing that it's wild. The other wild or unfortunate situation right now is that people that have either depression or bad period in their life and vent on their social network to what they think is friends and family might end up into some database repackaged and sold by Facebook to insurance company, deciding that this person is in higher risk of suicide or higher risk of quote-unquote car accident or anything else, or risky behavior. And you could be paying hundreds of dollars and thousands of dollars more a year to get insured, not knowing why. And this is where we've lost control of our data. And that's not what's happening. It's already there. This is where we were 10 years behind with legislation, with the government not really taking this seriously.
Well, like I said, I think it's safe for people to really understand, safe to understand, not safe to do. It's safe for you to know that whatever you post online, someone has got some piece of information of you. So anything you do, you've left your digital imprint. And guys like Frank Dumas, who I'm talking to, they want to take that back. They want to protect your data. They want to protect everything you're doing online. And, that is going to be a big wave in the future. And I think the more we understand this, this is such still an emerging tech, if you think about it. I still remember going on sites back in the day that it took, you heard like that fax machine sound, and it took like a minute for a page to load. But really, if you think about that was, 20 years ago only? 25 years ago, I guess. And that's not a long time in terms of, an industry. And we as adults sort of learned this industry together for those who weren't as technologically sound or programmers or coders like, Frank and his teams would experience and know. But the kids are questioning things more, I think, and I hope. And I hope these revolutions, we're seeing one against climate change right now. I think, I think there's going to be a lot of revolutions coming in from a youth who are more educated and want to protect themselves more. One against Big Pharma, personally. I think they want to get more natural medications because everyone sadly knows someone who's been addicted to something or affected by drugs that are prescribed to you. And then the other one is, I think you're right, this data protection. We're seeing a lot of movements around that. And Frank, I think that's what you and your team are really, at the end of the day, that's sort of what your big mission in life is, isn't it?
Yeah, I think that's what we're going to do for the next few decades and hopefully make a difference. And it's funny sometimes because my father is in his 70s and he's asking me often, should I be on this social media? And I'm asking why? What do you want to do? And that's the first thing. Don't go there because, somebody that plays bowling with you is on that social media and go willy-nilly on it. And he said, well, I have nothing really of value. So let's backtrack a bit and see what you have of value. He said, well, I'm not posting any personal information. I said, well, you went on one social application, I'm not going to say which one, and you opened a Gmail account to be able to do it. He never used Gmail. I figured out that he had Gmail by looking at some of the spy software that suddenly got installed on his computer over the time. Every 6 months, I go and I clean his computer. He downloads all sort of crap. I don't know what he's doing, and it's all often like card games and stuff like that for free, and he doesn't realize that comes with backdoor. That comes with nothing is never free on the internet. If you download something or an application that's free, it's spying on you, for sure. And he had his Gmail, so I was able to show him, since he had downloaded Gmail 2 years prior, that every place he's been with his phone, because he had opened the Gmail with his phone once. Every place he's been, minute by minute, with the GPS coordinate. I could print out a map and show him how much time he's been at different places. And this is data that's being sold. Google sells this data. So if you constantly go to the same pharmacy, even if you buy for other people, you might have an insurance company that decide that you're a risk. Or if you go in a certain area, or the speed you're driving can be tracked just with the data of your phone. So
unbelievable. Hey, Frank, I love these chats. So let's make sure whether we're doing Franks and Friends and a thing that we want to start branding here because you're so connected to people that I wouldn't know how to get to, including John McAfee, even though it didn't work out this time. I think our conversations are just as important and just as intriguing. And really, I think a lot of people are sitting there right now listening going, oh, my goodness, I'm going to be careful what I do with my dad and how I search. Sorry?
I just remember, just one quick note, because we were saying about, you didn't trust Facebook, for example, for selling the data. They developed a wallet called Calibra, which will be the digital wallet to put your Facebook currency, the Libra currency. And he had to say in his presentation that they won't sell the data of the Libra wallet. So when a company has to, make that clear in a short presentation in front of Congress, it's pretty much because we all know they're going to do it one way or another.
Huh, isn't that interesting? Yeah, they'll find a way through terms or whatever, so they won't. Listen, these are things that we need to continue this conversation around, and people need to be aware. And it might be too late for a lot of us, but it's not too late for your children and for your youth, and we need to educate them because at some point, you look at movies like Minority Report or the matrix and things, and you start to question it all. If we're all interconnected somehow, then when really are you an individual? And it sounds far-fetched, but it's fact. And you got to give yourself a look and start to predict trends in the future. One I always try to do and stay on top of this stuff. And the future looks awfully dark to me because it doesn't show a lot of freedom or independence. And really, that's the one thing that we all want. Frank, thank you so much for your time. Frank Dumas, where can people find you on Twitter?
Oh, it's Maikan5. So MAIKAN5.
Great. And we look forward to talking to you next week. We'll do these weekly.
Yeah, perfect.
Okay. Cheers. Frank Dumas, everyone.
This is the Todd Shapiro Show on Canada Talks, SiriusXM 167.